Sometimes when we are factoring, we don't want to have to guess and check. Guessing and checking can be annoying. It can be irritating. So sometimes it's nice to have a method. So I'm going to teach you a method. I don't particularly care if you guess and check or if you use this AC method. Just pick what works for you and stick with it. So this is called the AC method, or sometimes it's referred to as splitting the middle. And this is how it goes. In every trinomial, all right, we would call the leading coefficient A, the coefficient of x is B, and then the constant is C. All right, so what our setup is going to be is we're going to take A times C, and we're going to multiply those two together, and then we're going to try and search for the number that multiplies to A times C and adds to B. It looks like this. All right, I'm giving you a lot of steps, but this is so you have them in your notes. All right, so we're going to multiply A times C. So I'm grabbing a calculator because I don't always want to do all this math in my head. So there we go. So 6 times 15, what is that, 90? 6 times 15 is 90, yes. So A times C is 90, and it's going to be negative 90 because of the negative sign here. Okay, so we are looking at this number negative 90, and we are saying, well, what multiplies to AC, which is negative 90, and adds to B? And B in this case is the number in front of the x, which is 1. So I'm going to think through numbers that multiply to negative 90 and add to 1. And as I'm thinking through that, I'm thinking, well, that's got to be 10 and negative 9. Okay, and you could have gone through different combinations. Do 2 and 45 add to 9, or add to 1. Do 3 and 30 add to 1. But the combination that we're looking for here is 10 and negative 9. Now, 10 and negative 9 are not the numbers that are in your final answer. They're just helper numbers that we're going to use to split the middle. So call these helper numbers. All right. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this positive 1x and we're going to split it into two terms. We're going to keep the 6x squared alone, or the same, and we're going to keep the negative 15 the same, and we are going to split the middle. We are going to take that 10 and negative 9 and say plus 10x minus 9x. And you'll note that these two blue terms right here add up to this 1x right here. So this is 10x minus 9x is equivalent to that 1x. Now, what we're going to do is we are going to, I call it squiggling. We're going to squiggle here, squiggle there, squiggle here, and squiggle there. What we're technically doing is finding the GCF of the first two terms and the GCF of the second two terms. All right, so the GCF of our first squiggle, 6x squared and 10x, is 2x. And then the leftovers are 3x plus 5. The GCF of the second squiggle is negative 3. And I'm picking negative 3 because I want this, what's inside the parentheses, to match exactly. So if this says 3x plus 5 here, then this also has to be 3x plus 5. And so in order to get that, I'm putting a minus sign here. All right, so now I have two terms, and 3x plus 5 is my common factor. I'm going to factor out that common factor. I'm going to take 3x plus 5 out of both terms. And then I have my leftovers. If I take 3x plus 5 out of here, then I'm left with 2x. And if I take 3x plus 5 out of here, then I'm left with negative 3. And this is my factored form right there. All right, so 3x plus 5, 2x minus 3, and that's how you use the AC method to get your factored form. It's a lot of steps, but if you know the steps, then sometimes that helps you not have to guess and check so much. You just follow the method and get the solution. All right, so let's do it one more time. I've got 5 times 12, which incidentally is also 60. So A times C is 60. And I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to 60 and add to negative 32. Okay, what multiplies to 60 and adds to negative 32? Well, I know that both of the numbers either have to be positive or negative, And in this case, we're going to say they both have to be negative because of this negative sign. So the two numbers that multiply to 16 add to negative 32 are negative 30 and negative 2. And again, these are my helper numbers. They're not the final answer. They're being used to split the middle. So I'm going to say 5x squared. Now, order does not matter here. I could put minus 30x first or minus 2x first. So I'm going to put minus 2x first, just for giggles. Minus 30x plus 12. Before I move on, I'm just going to double check. Do my middle two terms add to this middle term? Is negative 32x equivalent to negative 2x minus 30x? And it is, so I'm good. So now I'm going to squiggle here and squiggle there. Take the GCF of the first two terms and the GCF of the last two terms. The GCF of this is x, and I'm left with 5x minus 2. The GCF of the second two terms is 6, and I want this, the first term to be positive and the second to be negative, so I'm going to take out a negative 6. And I am left with 5x minus 2. If at this point in your problem your parentheses don't match, you have done something incorrectly. Either you've picked the wrong numbers or this trinomial can't be factored. So if you don't have a match here, you need to stop and reevaluate your process, okay? But I do have a match. So 5x minus 2 is my common factor. I'm going to factor it out. I'm going to pull it out here and get 5x minus 2. If I take that term out of my first chunk, I'm left over, I get an x left over. And if I take it out of my second chunk, I get a negative 6 left over. So my factored form is 5x minus 2 and x minus 6.